Hello, hello. Welcome to In the Studio. Today, the topic of discussion is width. I have a few techniques to share with you for adding width to your sounds. So let's get right to it. The first thing I want to touch on is self-explanatory, but I thought I would at least touch on it. And that's using things like stereo widening tools, like, for example, Isotope's Ozone Imager. I have this stab here, which I made mono for the demonstration, but I can easily widen that up with Ozone Imager. This is the free version, but I can just push that up, which is a great little tool. If you don't have it, it's worth scooping up. I'll put the link down in the description. The paid version allows you to do, pick specific frequency bands and widen them accordingly, so you can get a really nice balance. And there's more parameters and little things to play with on the paid version, and there's lots of plugins like this out there. I'm not gonna mention anymore, although I will mention one in FL Studio here, which is the Stereo Enhancer. And this is a nice little tool I like to use from time to time. All you do is just push the phase offset here to the left or to the right. And it will widen the sound up. Be careful with this one though, because if you push it too far with certain sounds, it really makes a wide sound and it'll push it into anti-phase fairly quickly. So be careful with that one. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is using the Haas effect or a stereo delay to create a wide sound. So I have this shaker loop here, just a simple random shaker sample playing a 16th pattern. And what I'm going to do first here is create a little bit of width using like a stereo delay effect. So I used Fruity Delay Bank for this. You can hear it there. Off, on. And all I did to create that, I'm just going to go, just going to load it up again and redo it really quick. So I'll pull up Delay Bank. So all I did was take it off the timing here. I'm going to pull this time down to like a really short delay, like 11, I think is where I had it. 11 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds should work. And I'm going to pan that over to the right. And then I just pull the wet down a little bit. That just creates a micro delay on the right side, on the right channel, which creates a wider sound. So, stereo delay effect. There you go. And one other thing I can do here, I have a copy of this shaker loop, so I'm going to pan one left. I'm going to pan one right. If we don't do anything, it's just going to be the exact same thing. So what we need to do to widen this up is another technique. This is the Haas effect. So I'm going to take shaker 2, I'm going to head over to the wrench tab, and under this timing section, there's this little shift knob. So listen, I'm going to push that up, and when I get far enough, you'll hear it break away and the sound will widen out. There you go. And essentially that's just a different way of achieving the same thing we did with that delay effect I just showed you. We're just micro shifting the right side so it's slightly behind the left channel, and it just, that small difference that small delay creates a difference in the left and the right ear and creates a wider sound. Just another way to do it. So moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is panning. Just simple panning moves can create width in a mix. So don't underestimate the power the panning plays in creating a nice wide sound. One thing I like to do is to pan in pairs. So if I have, a hi-hat loop or something, and maybe a tambourine loop that's kind of playing, with the hi-hat, then I'll pan one left slightly, I'll pan one right to complement it, so I get a nice balance throughout. And I usually try and do that in pairs. So just wanted to touch on the basics of panning and how important it is. And then I have another a panning technique to create width. Using auto panning is a great way to do this. So I have this plugin here pulled up, which is actually another free plugin, which is my favorite auto panning plugin, which also happens to be free. Pancake 2 from Cable Guys. So there's lots of things you can do with panning to create width, but for a sound like this, a little 16th shaker pattern, I might do like a fast synced rate. So maybe like we could try on a 16th rate and then just pull up the mix here. Creates a little bit of width. Could even change the synced rate, try some different. Oh, you know what? Let's I'm going to pan that back to the center, and I'm just going to turn this one down. And this should work better now. Oops. So we'll put it back to 16th. Try this one first. Yeah. Creates a nice movement there, and width also. Change up the rate. Experiment with that. But yeah, auto panning, whether it's sometimes a faster rate suits the sound better, sometimes a slow pan suits the sound better. So whatever your mix calls for, to try some auto panning can really bring some extra width and life to your mix. And don't be afraid to take it like off sync and try just like a free moving pan motion too, which can be really interesting as well. The next thing I want to talk about is mid-side. So I have this little synth loop here for this demonstration, which is quite simple, just a little loop from a sample pack. So what you can do to create the illusion of more width is accentuate just the stereo information with mid-side EQ. So for example, all you need is an EQ with mid-side capabilities. Most of them these days have mid-side capabilities. I'm using the Waves H EQ here. So I'm just going to turn this to the mid-side mode, and on the sides I'm going to use this high shelf here. I'm going to push up just the sides, or just the stereo information. So you can hear that in solo. That's just the stereo information. So technically you're not actually adding any width, but you're just making the stereo information louder, which gives the illusion that there's more width there. And what you could even do to take that even further is on the mids, do the opposite and pull down on the top frequencies. Say that's where you want to accentuate it to accentuate those sides even more. So yeah, mid-side EQ can be a great tool for bringing out the stereo information in your track. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is a nice little technique I like to use quite often, actually. And that's taking two of the same loops. So I have this shaker loop here. To turn that one off. And this is just a copy of it. So what I can do here, I'm just going to pull this one up. I'm going to pan one left and one right. It's just an exact copy here. So what you can do is play, if you have a loop and you want to create some width, is just to simply play them in a different sequence. So I'm going to take that first part, that first beat there, and move it to the back. And now we have a nice wide sound. We'll do a little before and after here. So this would be normal. And just that simple move of rearranging the loop and playing it in a slightly different sequence creates a nice wide sound that could be very interesting, and it's extremely easy to do. And then in the same kind of style of technique here, we could do something slightly different. Say we didn't want to do that for some reason. What you can do is just simply pitch one or process one differently to create a wider sound. So on shaker loop, on this one here, now it should just be playing normal. We could pitch this one down, say a semitone, and you got a wider sound that way. Or you could combine those two techniques, play them in a different sequence, and also maybe pitch one up or pitch one down, or pitch them apart, maybe by like 10 cents a piece. You could do that as well. You could just process one, maybe give one some gritty distortion and maybe like a touch of delay or something. Give the other one like a reverb treatment. If you just treat them in different ways, then you'll get a similar effect. It all depends on what you're going for. So and then the next thing I want to show you is using delays. There's many ways that you can use delays to create width, but I have one technique here. So I have this stab here, which I showed you before, and I have this running through these two delays. One's panned left, one's panned right. They're both Fruity Delay 3, but they both have different timings and different settings, which creates a nice wide sound. There you go, using delays to create some width. So the last thing I want to show you is, say you you have a mono sound, excuse me, and you want to make it stereo. What you could do is use reverb for that. So what you can do is maybe just make a really short reverb and pull this out to the left here. It just creates the stereo separation for the reverb. Adding reverb to sounds, inherently a byproduct of that is creating some width. So now we have a little width there, that short reverb. And you can accentuate that by using one of the previous techniques I showed you, like following that with the stereo enhancer. And that's going to take that width that you added from the reverb and spread it out even further. And you could you could run that through any stereo widening tool that you like to use. So there you go. There's a few ways to create width, and hopefully it was something that you can use in your projects. Leave me a comment, leave me a question, and I'll catch you soon. Take care.